Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's I, Curtis Selby, your very tired blogger. What blogs in this case at 6:01 p.m. Going to try something a little bit different today. I've been playing with some AI generating software stuff. Uh, while it hasn't exactly come out the way I wanted it to, I'm hoping that this comes out at least halfway okay. Let's see what you guys think about this song.
Used to walk these fields without a care. A simpler time, the wind in my hair. I hear talk of chaos in the air. Feels like I'm clutching at threads just to bear. The news pours out like a flood that's grown wild. With every headline I feel more beguiled. Can't find the truth in a world beguiled. Feels like the good days have all been exiled. The world's spinning out of control, can't you see? Like an old broken down truck, we're stuck in deep debris. Can't find our way back to the way we used to be. The world's spinning out of control, breaking me. Folks I once knew seem like strangers now, with their heads buried deep in screens, oh how. We lost what we had somewhere somehow, living like shadows, can't raise a brow. Mama called and said she's tired of this mess, sick of heartache and feeling so restless. She said, son, we need a place to confess. In this mad world, we're all just guests. The world's spinning out of control, can't you see? Like an old broken down truck, we're stuck in deep debris. Can't find our way back to the way we used to be. The world's spinning out of control, breaking me. Mama called and said she's tired of this mess, sick of heartache and feeling so restless. She said, son, we need a place to confess. In this mad world, we're all just guests. The world's spinning out of control, can't you see? Like an old broken down truck, we're stuck in deep debris. Can't find our way back to the way we used to be. The world's spinning out of control, breaking me.
And with whiplash jarringness, I go back to the regular music. I hope that that was enjoyable. I don't know. Let me know. Frankly, let me know if you could even hear it. Let's say hello to everyone in the chat, and then I will get into the topic. Sure. Hello with John Potorero. Thank you very much. Spoon! For your support, your brotherly love, your prayers, your advice, for sharing links with me about various topics. And it's okay. I'm just grateful for where you're here and where you leave the comments. Meow Meow Moira Kitty, I know you've got lots of lovely information for the people who aren't paying any attention. Hopefully people start paying attention. Cheap, cheap. Donnie Cleary, the faithful bird woman of YouTube. When you're done checking out Moira's channel about breaking news that's heartbreaking, check out some birds and some beautiful music at Connie Cleary's channel or her second channel, Love Chick Productions. And also check out Charlotte Nightstar the Werewolf. Oh, very kind and supportive person, very creative. She writes wonderful stories. She writes wonderful music. I don't think that what I've done here compares to what she does, but she's inspired me to try to get something halfway musical attached to all this. And I hope that the song was enjoyable. Let me know what you think. And Gorilla's Random Thoughts. I've heard you've been monetized. May Kalis be praised. And the Gorilla Grodd. Keep it down. I can't hear the voices in my head telling me to do things I'm not supposed to do. I resemble that remark, Gorillas. And what's up? Force 123. Welcome back. I hope that you find some of this entertaining and or informative. A little under the weather even still, so I'm going to shut the music down and spare my head at the very least. I've spent almost 8 minutes just saying hello to the chat and sharing that song. Again, let me know what you think. It's a little AI did most of the work, but I plugged in some of the suggestions and changed some of the stuff. And voice is not mine, obviously. The voice is all AI generated, but I was just curious what y'all might think. I know Gorillaz makes some really good music. I think at least partly AI generated on his channel. By all means, please check him out, especially now that he's monetized. Send him a super chat. Let him know that the Tired Blogger sent you. So it probably sounds like, and probably is going to be, that I've gone back to talking about politics. Everyone chose yes on the last stream, which was about economics. They wanted to hear me talk about why Trump won. Definitely a delicate topic. I didn't hardly talk about it at all in the last stream. As most of you know, we've had a very tense election year. We've had a very tense 4 years. Gorilla's Random Thoughts endorses that suggestion. Very good. I am expecting that you likely voted for that. And I think voted for Trump, but if I'm mistaken, that's okay, because I'm easily mistaken. And you don't have to be a Trump supporter or voter to be on this channel. But a lot of the things I'm going to say today will, frankly, sound like a Trump supporter. And that's partly because I've gotten back to being one. Now, I do want to be careful. I don't want to drink Kool-Aid. I don't want to say that the man's above any criticism. He doesn't deserve any of the criticism that's been put on him. But at the end of the day, I have changed my mind and voted for him. So that is also part of what I'm going to be trying to do, is explain to my friends, how is it that good, decent, reasonable people are voting for someone that you are saying is a Nazi, a fascist? You're saying he's stupid. You're saying he's a rapist. You're saying he's a totalitarian. How in the world could reasonable people vote for him? Well, I'm going to explain how that comes about. Gorilla's Random Thoughts. He won because we're all woman haters. Yeah, we're all misogynists. They just don't diss our right wing, Jesus. I don't know. I'm not going to do what I normally do. Normally, I plug in somebody's channel and say to go there, partly because I'm tired and a little bit sick, and partly because I have a lot to talk about. I'm just going to go until I'm reading the room. In other words, when there's only 2 or 3 people and nobody's making any comments, I'll stop talking. Or when I get through all 8 of the points. So it is possible, depending on how you all vote and how much I get through, this may be a 2 or maybe even a 3-part thing. Yeah, let's not diss the right wing Jesus. And look, and to be in the interest of full disclosure, gorillas, hopefully you won't hate me. I was one of the anti-Trumpers 4 years ago. It took me some years to become convinced, just like it took some years to convince me back the other way. And yes, gorillas, congratulations on being monetized. That is fantastic. Now you can maybe take steps toward ruling the world, or at least doing this with a little bit of profit, hopefully. So I've got 8 points. I would really love to get through all of them. If, however, y'all vote for something totally different and I'm not done, well, that's just my damn problem. We'll worry about that later. Right now, more about Trump winning is tied with the chill stream. Let's just talk. Please vote in the chat. In the chat, there's a poll. Basically, the 4 options are more about Trump winning, if I haven't finished it with this one, living with chronic fatigue syndrome, watch a watch party if they live, or just a chill stream with no set definite topic where we just talk. I see Enigma Severus. Hello, my people. Bless you, bless you. You all may be wondering, why in the world is he talking about Trump, but he has old Luke Skywalker as his avatar? Well, a friend of mine sent me a very funny meme today about Mark Hamill waking up the day Trump was elected, and it was video of basically, old Luke Skywalker. I thought it was funny. It's not that I have anything against Mark Hamill. It's just sometimes I do wish the celebs would shut the hell up about their politics and who they're voting for and all that. The only ones I have a problem with are the insufferable ones. And I understand that. And part of my journey has been, I think I've gotten here not so much that my friends became insufferable, because I don't want to go that far. I don't want to be unfair to them. I'm probably more insufferable than they are. But having said that, I got literally frightened in the last year, hearing some of the things that were said. Anyway, we've talked about that probably ad nauseum on this channel. So let's figure out why Trump won. I think that it goes possibly further back, but I think it goes back at least to January 6th, which I know that's a very controversial topic, and to the very beginning of the Biden administration. Here is my first sherry thing to share with you. This is from Vox.com. They are reporting here from 4 years ago on Biden's inaugural address. Now, even though I became an anti-Trumper, I never could bring myself to vote for Biden. I never could. For a long, long time, I was hardcore Republican. I'm not as hardcore as I was in the past. I hope I broadened my mind a little bit about some things, but I just didn't see Biden being all that in a bag of chips. A spoiler alert, he ended up disappointing me badly because I did not expect these last 4 years to be where they went. But I didn't also expect him to be some great, wonderful hero who would save and solve and fix everything. So, in a protest vote, I voted Libertarian last time. I got Libertarian predilections anyway, so it was pretty easy for me to do. But once he was elected and all the January 6th stuff was happening, and I was convinced that the election was legitimate, he's our president now. We need to, pull our support and pray for him and hope that he does wise things and that he is successful. I notice that this is not happening very much now that Trump has won on the other side, but that's neither here nor there. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, he didn't disappoint me at all. I had no expectations at all. Well, what I expected was basically for lots of what I expected was kind of limp toast. What I expected was politics as usual. What I didn't expect was censorship. What I didn't expect was for the opposition to be literally oppressed. What I didn't expect was for him to end up with dementia and for the entire nation, well, for 40 to 60% of the nation to completely deny it for 2 or 3 years. So, yeah, he did disappoint me because I did not expect those things. You were probably the wiser of us two gorillas. I shouldn't have been so self-important and thinking that I knew what the hell was going to happen. Hi, Jim's Landscape at Commodore Productions. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for the kind comment. I am sadly talking about politics, but hopefully it will be something that is either mildly entertaining or hopefully informative. So, in Biden's inaugural speech, the title here, "We Must End This Uncivil War." Biden calls for unity in the inaugural address. He asks for harmony while speaking to the immense challenges of the moment. I won't read this entire thing, but I at least want to get some of the salient points. In his first speech as president, Joe Biden emphasized unity, situating his inauguration among other tense moments in American history where democracy prevailed despite the country's divisions and crises, referencing the Civil War, the Great Depression, and World War II, which, if you remember, he did that again in his last State of the Union address. Biden's address stood in stark contrast to the American carnage references his predecessor used 4 years before, clarifying the challenges facing the nation, but asking Americans to appeal to their better natures. And I've heard a lot of my liberal friends reference that. We've got to appeal to our better angels. We've got to hope that our better angels are what inspire us to vote. And for a long time, until about June or somewhere thereabouts, I gave everyone the benefit of the doubt and believed or wanted to believe that when we said that, what we meant was, let's be inspired by God as we understand God. Let's look at things with charity toward our opposition, with reason applied to both sides. But more and more, I became convinced that all it really meant was vote my way, damn it. To be fair, there's plenty of that on the right as well. but I quit. I quit thinking, I quit believing that it was an even-sided thing. Watching Twitter, guerrillas could see the writing on the wall. Yeah, I could too. But again, it's only been since about June. And once again, I'm hinting that likely you're wiser than I am. I give people too much of the benefit of the doubt for way too long. Gorilla's random thoughts. That's why I only got one wrong on the election map. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I did expect, I didn't know who to expect to win. Looking at Twitter, I frankly wanted to believe that it was going to be Trump, but I've been on both sides of that situation. In other words, I remember nobody thinking Trump could win the first time, and he won. Back then, I was pro Trump, and I was so excited. And then we had 4 years of, frankly, it wasn't that bad, but some of us saw it as a shit show. We were told by the media that it was a shit show. And so after 4 years, and then after being confused as hell about January 6th and having, frankly, probably too many liberals surrounding me, hopefully I don't go too far the other way now, but I was actually relieved that he didn't win. And now I've come to realize that maybe, I don't know. Part of me wonders if it would have been better, but part of me is thinking that maybe Trump and the rest of us needed to go through this crap in order to see how things really are. While calling out the toxic nature of the misinformation, phrase was already starting to come about, that has divided the country, and notable mention while speaking to dozens of Republican lawmakers who denied his electoral win. Biden affirmed his belief in a unified country. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire destroying everything in its path, Biden said. We must reject the culture in which facts themselves are manipulated and even manufactured. My fellow Americans, we have to be different than this. America has to be better than this. And I believe America is so much better than this. Here we have a Twitter person, Matt Fuller. Biden's speech is about appealing to our better angels, history, faith, reason, dignity, respect, unity. It's literally a rebuttal to Trump's American carnage inaugural address. Biden presented a harmonious, hopeful vision of the country, something of a continuation with his perhaps overly idealistic campaign rhetoric that painted America as a nation better than its actions under President Donald Trump. On Inauguration Day, however, he did not gloss over the country's issues, clearly calling out white supremacy, domestic terrorism, and racial injustice as being challenges to the soul of the nation, promising his whole soul was in the fight to make America once again the leading force for good. The solution to America's problems and the divisions it faces, Biden said, is not to turn inward, to retreat into competing factions, distrusting those who don't look like you or worship the way you do, or don't get their news from the same sources you do. Why is your tired blogger bringing all of this up? Let's see what the chat has to say, and then I'll try to make it a little more plain. Enigma Severus, when I was an adolescent and teen, my mom would directly lie to my face and claim that my eyes were deceiving me. Yeah, it's what my ex-wife and mother-in-law did. I understand it perfectly, Enigma. Although it was a different situation, but it sucks. Her words were not what she said. From that, I analyzed very much. Yeah, yeah. And my heart goes out to you because I know how that feels. Whenever someone says one thing and does the opposite, never depend on their words ever. That is correct. And I believe that these words were the exact right words to say. But I would present that the biggest and the most glaring reason why Trump ended up winning is because this is not what Biden did. Or at the very least, this is not what our government did. I don't want to hop up and down. There's things that I could criticize in here. The old right winger in me could say, well, this is divisive or that's divisive. And I'm not going to go that far right now because I don't feel like there's any need to. But I would posit that politics don't have to be a raging fire, and yet we're going to say that if you see a Trump supporter in a restaurant, you need to accost them. I know Biden didn't say that, but his supporters did. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire, but the people who vote for my opponent are garbage. We don't have to destroy everything in our path, but we do have to destroy Donald Trump. We do have to destroy Robert F. Kennedy. We have to destroy the lives of people who don't take the vaccine. We have to destroy the lives of people who criticize the vaccine. I believe that alone was the big thing for why he lost. But it came about in several different ways. And yes, I know Trump said hateful things too. I'm not trying to say he didn't. I know that there were right wingers that said hateful things. At the end of the day, though, I'm trying to analyze why is it that Trump ended up winning? Is it just that people are angry, hateful right wingers? I would suggest no. One of my biggest pieces of evidence, Lady Mist here is a wonderful person and did not vote that way. So we have good people, and we have good people on both sides. But I think it was some tragic decisions were made on the side of the left. The right did some good things too, but I'm mainly focusing on what the left did wrong because after January 6th, let's face it, they should have been able to win the next 4, 5, or 6 elections in a row if they had handled their politics right. Connie Cleary, my dad's sister's that way. She's a Democrat, right? And again, I'm not here to trash Democrats or people who say that they're Reagan Republicans, but yet ended up voting for both Biden and Kamala. I'm just trying to analyze this stuff. Some of this is my opinion. Some of this is, my thinking that took me from being against Trump to being pro-Trump. Enigma Severus, Michael Knowles put out a great video on Saturday before the election on the pinch that shall not be named. He details very clearly the silencing which took place. I think I should watch that. Boot her out of here. No, we are just kidding, lady. You're completely welcome. You're welcome and loved, and hopefully you feel safe here. Let me know what you think. By all means, I expect you will disagree with at least some of this, and that's okay. All right. Yeah, the silencing. The second thing I want to share. I will wait, see how it goes. I'm not optimistic for how the future of our lives will be. And I can understand that. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. Even though I voted for him, let's face it. Let's be realistic here. We can give him all the excuses in the world, and some of them are probably valid, but he didn't exactly change the world in his first 4 years. I am hoping he does better in the next 4 years, but I don't know, and I don't know if it's enough that he alone does better. And everybody does love Lady Mist. Hell to the yes. In fact, that probably ought to be what my next topic is about, is just how awesome she is, instead of whatever silly stuff I put into the poll. Right now, we're tied between a watch party of They Live and a chill stream where we just talk. So that's my first point, is we needed uniting. We looked to Biden for uniting, and we did not get that, in my humble opinion. The second thing that I think went wrong was the first thing that, in my humble opinion, went wrong, or possibly the second, but I think of it as the first thing that went wrong in the presidency. I am not. Space Fraggle Kapla. Yes, Lady Mist is a very sweet person. Hell to the yes. Just wait, 3 a.m. ballot drop hasn't come in yet. I am going to get there, although that's probably bass awkward, but I am going to get there. The first thing I noticed going wrong was the ending of Afghanistan. Now, I know the people on the left say that Trump had decided to leave Afghanistan and that it was his botched plan that was executed, and therefore it's all his fault. But I won't say that Trump bears no blame at all, because maybe it was his botched plan. But having said that, you're the president, Mr. Biden. You're the one that's in charge. You're the one that should have been the one deciding this. If you saw it was a botched plan, you should have changed the timeline, or you should have changed the procedure. It's for the same reasons that I became anti-Trump. You know, things happened on your watch, Mr. Trump. It shouldn't have happened. You can't just pass the buck and throw a bunch of excuses at me and expect me to listen to it. Well, the same went for Biden. This did not exactly make me anti or pro-Trump again, nor did it make me anti-Biden, but it certainly put a big chunk of support out of the let's give Biden the benefit of the doubt. Let's take a sad walk down memory lane here. It would be too loud, but all of that U.S. Army and U.S. military weaponry now in the hands of our enemies that took out 5,000 people on 9/11, enemies that took out quite a few of our own soldiers. It really left a terrible taste in my mouth. And so I can't exactly go so far as to say this was unforgivable, but step by step by step, a process of thought is built. Enigma Severus, no one's optimistic. But I would offer the idea that the conservative side will not be as fast paced to the destruction of our world, not trying to be rude. But they need to stop volunteering my money. I would agree with that. And have I said Kapla and hello, Space Fraggle? Glory to you and your house. Trump gave Biden an out of the deal. Trump told the Taliban leader when they would leave and told them the terms of the draw. They violated the terms, he would airstrip his home. Yeah, I have heard that. I have heard that. I debated on which point I wanted to take up next. Yeah, Connie is with you, Enigma, on that one. But the thing that I wanted to talk about next was the COVID and the censorship. Because that's where this is where I really started to part. And for a long time it was a slow thing. I was in a delicate situation in a way back then because some of my best friends, they resent that I say this, but essentially they took the side that is now considered liberal. And I was dating a really wonderful woman, except she ended up being a little bit crazy. And we didn't work out, but she was very big on CNN and MSNBC. And I was listening a lot to them. And I've got to say, they did honestly end up being less overtly partisan than I expected them to be. But then since then, I've learned that many of the things that I was being told then were lies. And so covertly, I've come to believe that they were a little more than an arm of the Democrat Party. The beginning of the rift with my friends was with COVID. Because I understand it's a pandemic. I understand we don't want people dying. I understand that we've got to be serious and so on and so on. But I noticed, again, this was back when I was watching CNN, and it really seemed to me like they were basically inspiring people to fear. They were inspiring people to panic. And to me, that wasn't cool. But I was like, well, maybe they're just, they're just trying to I didn't know what the hell they were trying to do. Eventually, I became convinced that they were a controlling part of the government, but at the time, I felt like, well, maybe they're just going for ratings, and that's not cool and that's not great, but it's forgivable. But I've always had a little bit of a conspiratorial side to me, and unfortunately, I would listen to people like Russell Brand or people like the Inspired channel with John Nolan. Yeah, they're a little bit out there, but they're not like so crazy. They're not like Alex Jones crazy, and I just cannot listen to them. And they would share perspectives, and I've always been keen on that. I've always felt like you should always listen to the other side. I've gotten to where I'm not as good at that as I used to be, but I've always believed that when you stop listening to the other side, that's when you're setting yourself up for failure. LaBelle, good evening. I have not met you before. Welcome, welcome. And I hope that you find some of this entertaining and hopefully a little bit informative. Glory to you and your house, saith Space Fraggle, and everyone saying hello. Alex Jones. Yeah. Sadly, I have to confess, there was a time when I was so far down the rabbit hole. That was back when I first voted for Trump. I was listening to Alex Jones. That's how bad it was. And this was part of why I could sense stuff on the left, because I was hearing left wing stuff. It's like Elon Musk shared a meme here a while back, and I don't know what movie it was from, but this actress is talking to this actor, and she's like, "I'm ready for the truth," and he was like, "Project 2025 is just QAnon for lefties," and I'm sorry, but it's true. I've heard so many things from the left that are literally, well, maybe I shouldn't use that term, but they are very figuratively, they seem literally to be copy and pasted Alex Jones statements, just put Trump in there instead of Hillary, or put uh, put neo-Nazis in there instead of lizard people. It's the same rhetoric, it's the same thing. And if it was dangerous on Alex Jones' side, and I would suggest that it was, I mean, that was the one thing the left did convince most of us of. Let me know if I'm wrong. But if Alex Jones is dangerous, it's just as dangerous if all you do is transpose somebody else's name into the rhetoric. That's my humble opinion. The thing is, Alex Jones is right a lot of the time. And he is. He predicted 9/11. He predicted the Ukrainian war. I've been told since then that that wasn't very impressive, but it was enough to impress a tired blogger. He exaggerates a lot for entertainment. It's because of him I got my nickname. Really? I didn't know that. It came because I was being a jerk. Okay. I thought he was funny. I was a Democrat for a long time. Now I'm a moderate free thinker. Well, good on you. Glory to you and your house. That is where I at least hope I am. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Should I fry my ham sandwich or cold ham sandwich? I vote that you fry that ham sandwich. Always fry the ham sandwich when you get a chance. I'm going to share here one of the things that helped convince me that I was not, in fact, crazy when it came to all of the COVID censorship. One of the sources that I rely on maybe too heavily is The Hill, mainly because they actually respect libertarian views. So there's that. But there's a Dr. Jay Bhattacharya who essentially was trying to debate how we were handling COVID. And he was censored. He was stricken off of nearly all the social media platforms. It became a great big deal. And then later, I heard a debate between him and someone else. They were debating, she was debating that the government actually did a good job censoring people, and he debated that they did a terrible job. My friends refused to listen to it. This is where the rift began. And frankly, if y'all had just pretended to listen to it and humored me like the condescending people that I've begun to suspect you may be, we would never have had that parting. But no, you had to let me know that I was stupid for listening to it, that the debate had been had and won. Drinking game. Every time Curtis says glory to your house, take a shot. Oh, now I'm going to say it like every 5 seconds. Think I may actually know you. Hopefully for your sake, not. But I won't disown you. unless you're like one of my ex-girlfriends, in which case I'm going to just kind of stop the stream and cry. Most of my ex-girlfriends were pretty cool, but one or two of them were crazy. And I don't remember dating anyone named LaBelle. Enigma Severus. Hey, that's so cool. When I was first in this chat, I could only see my chat. I assumed I was being punished by the algorithm. Now I see everyone sharing. Much easier to know what's happening. I don't know what YouTube's doing. If he takes his country into war with some of the things he said after elected, will you join his army and fight to stand with him? He has already got Russia and China laughing and thinking we are. Well, I won't take that personally. I'm too old, frankly. I respectfully disagree with you. I know he didn't get us into any wars in the first 4 years. And I think that likely he won't do that. I don't think he's likely to do that here either. Russia and China may be laughing, but I suggest that they would be laughing, honestly, no matter who we elected. Was I ever a Tiger? I was a Jet Nash Tiger when I was in high school. So if you remember me from high school, you probably remember me as a much better person than I've become. But Lady Mist, more of an easy win. They're showing the new First Lady's pictures over all over their TVs and laughing at her. Well, I haven't seen that, but it may be true. It may be true. Russia just announced they'll be selling oil in U.S. dollars. Hamas is now begging for peace. Right on, LaBelle. Lady Mist, he takes many things personally these days. To be honest, let's be fair. Even though I voted for him, Trump has his flaws. I've always felt like he took too many things personally. Now, having said that, he did not get us into more wars. I will stop bringing that up because I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just trying to state my side of things. But I think that's one of the things that has hurt him really badly for a long time, is that he takes too many things personally. I would also suggest some of the people on the left do too, but that, again, isn't said to persuade you. It's just me talking out loud in this case. China and Russia are already laughing at us. Not sure it can get much worse. The lady who shall not be named does not instill fear in anyone. I would offer the idea she is instructed. I agree, he has flaws. Also, he was being attacked on a personal level a lot. And that's not incorrect. I'm not saying that that's an excuse, but then I'm far from perfect too. I was a grade lower, so I do know you. I don't remember a LaBelle, though. I don't remember a LaBelle. Sorry, I feel kind of silly because I likely ought to know who you are. Yes, a new guessing game. Some mysterious person from my past. Hopefully, they don't have any dirt on me. If you try to blackmail me, I'll just delete the channel. A new guessing game. Yay. That's not my name, silly. Oh, I don't know what your name is. All I see is LaBelle. All right. I bought turkey, not ham. Turkey's better for you anyway. 20 questions. Moffat. Oh my gosh. The neurons are firing. Please forgive me. The chronic fatigue is a real thing. Moffat, I know the name. I think I can see your face, but I'm half afraid to say who I think it is, because then if I end up being wrong, you'll be like, possibly upset. I do think I remember you. That's cool. Well, hopefully I haven't said anything too insane to make you sad that you were in Jet Nash. Enigma Severus. Oh, yeah. From Silence of the Lambs, Moffat. Lois Lois Moffat. I think I can see your face, but I may be wrong. So please forgive me if I am. It's been a while, and my memory is not good. You probably remember me when I was sharp as a tack. I'm not sharp as a tack anymore. But it's good to see you. It's good to see you, Lois Moffat. That's fun. That's cool. That's cool. I would have the same fears if the Democrats won. It's getting to be a scary world, and way too many nukes are out there. Yeah, there have been for a long time. Enigma Severus, I don't think I've grown any since high school, except outward. If Moffat here remembers when I was thin as a rail, now I'm old and fat. I'm about 60 pounds heavier than you knew me, LaBelle. I wish it was all muscle. Sadly, it is not. And hello, LVG, free the net. We cannot wait till the day when the net is free. Keep us posted. Check this person out. He's got a wonderful channel. He has a wonderful web page. He's going to develop an app where we can take back what the big tech companies have been taking from us. Enigma Severus, I have an answer for you on that, Lady Mist. Laughter, which is good. I love this community. Well, at any rate, LaBelle, Lois Moffat, please welcome to the community. I hope that you, again, find some entertainment and or some knowledge, or at least you can understand how Curtis Selby went from being a supposed to be success story to being halfway crazy. I'm going to share a little bit, though, about the COVID censorship. This will be an interview between The Hill and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya.
A federal court has ruled against the Biden administration for pressuring social media companies to censor speech about COVID policies. Now, the case is Missouri versus Biden. It pits the attorneys general of Missouri and Louisiana, civil liberties groups, and several censored social media accounts against the White House, the CDC, and other government agencies. Judge Terry Doughty issued a preliminary injunction in July, barring the Biden administration's communication with Twitter, Facebook, etc. As of Friday, the Fifth Court of Appeals upheld these restrictions that were imposed by the judge, a move Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry has hailed. Here he is speaking outside the court.
What I continue to say is the most important First Amendment case, certainly in modern times. I think that this is a case that ultimately will end up at the Supreme Court and really determines, the scope anymore of the First Amendment in a virtual world.
All right, let's get back to the chat here, see what people are saying. Yeah, Lady Mist lives at Ground Zero, which I've not been far from it, but I am far enough away that I might at least survive for a bit. Lady Mist won't even know if one is dropped. I'll already be gone. Okay, Enigma Severus. It would honestly depend on your position about God and if he exists, but many history accounts clearly state that war will be held against God. Those accounts directly indicate that the world will not be destroyed human against human, but human against God. So you can possibly take that to heart, meaning our world will not come to an end with human against human. Yeah, and again, that if you believe the Christian Bible, and I've gotten back to being maybe not a perfect or great believer, but to being one. If you believe the Bible, then yeah, it's not that there will be wars and rumors of wars, but the end's going to come when basically we just, nearly all of us, turn our back on God. Hello, Jeff B. Hail and well met. I hope you are doing well. Glory to you and your house. Okay, everybody, take a shot. Give me, the. I won't discriminate against anyone. I am assuming that YouTube is censoring you again, gorillas. And yeah, looks like so. I'm sorry. This is the other big thing. And don't get me wrong, Trump censored too. He did. We have to be intellectually honest and admit the Taibbi files revealed that the Trump administration did do some censoring. Having said that, Biden administration censored to a vastly greater and frankly to a more discriminatory mean. I remember, and I don't doubt that I would still have the same discussion with my friends. It's okay for Facebook and Twitter and YouTube to be censoring because they're private platforms. They have the right to censor. That all was turned on its head with the Taibbi files because it turned out that it was, in fact, government pressuring these platforms into censoring. And that's not cool. I'm sorry, that's a clear and distinct violation of our First Amendment rights. And then, recently, after the assassination attempt, we had Zuckerberg coming out saying, please don't be mean and mad at me because the big bad government forced me to censor. Well, again, it's not right. If it was just big tech, it would still be concerning, but I would at least be willing to listen to your point. But once these things are revealed, you lose all of your credibility when you still try to say, well, they're private media things. They're no longer private media things when they're either in bed with the government or colluding with the government or they're coerced by the government. It's no longer just a private media issue at that point. Gorillas is not going to discriminate against anybody's nuclear vessels. Jeff B. got NSA down the road live between Baltimore, Washington, and Fort David. I'd be vapor. I'm about 50 miles from Vance Air Force Base. I wouldn't be vapor, but I would probably get a nice, lovely cancer and die slowly. Strong on the faith, Lady Mist is. I kind of suspected that. It's one of the reasons why I tried to be respectful. Even though we disagree, I think that it's more important that we agree on faith. Don't follow any organized religion, which I understand. I can respect that, actually. Most of them try to control my faith. Gorillas, Random Thoughts shall not be censored. And Enigma Severus, technically it's not against our freedom to speak. It's prohibiting on specific media platforms and promoting what is paid to promote. It's legalese. It's BS, but it is legal. I would suggest that it's not. And I would say because, well, actually, Armageddon's not supposed to be fun. Let's let Bhattacharya make the argument.
Here to discuss this case further is Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, co-founder of Illusion of Consensus Substack and professor at the Stanford School of Medicine. Welcome, doctor. It's an honor to have you.
He's an obvious hack. Only a hack would be a professor at the Harvard School of Medicine.
My honor as well. Thank you for having me.
Stanford, sorry.
So your account, obviously, I think this is probably well known to viewers, but just in case it's not, was one of the accounts that was censored, moderated, and now we've learned subsequently about all the guidance given by the government to the social media companies to take this action. Why don't you start by filling in our viewers exactly what sentiments you were expressing that got you axed from the platforms?
So when I joined Twitter in August 2021, I was immediately put, it turns out, on a trends blacklist. I found out from reporting from the Free Press that Barry Weiss did. I actually got invited to Twitter. I could see in the Twitter database, my face next to it said trends blacklist. I put on a blacklist.
All right. So somebody put on a blacklist because of something they said about COVID. LDG Free the Net is tired of hearing government talk as if they know the internet. And Enigma Severus, if someone owns the platform, they can say, you don't get to say those things in my platform, kind of like me in my classroom or school property. It's not freedom to say specific things. Right on. So to speak, meaning a student could be prohibited from saying something that can be misconstrued. Moderation doesn't mean stopping or removing speech. Right on. I have friends of many different or no religion. I'm happy to call them friends, would stand shoulder to shoulder to keep them safe. I agree. I agree. Again, I agree it is BS, but anyway. Okay. Let's see. So Dr. Bhattacharya was put on this blacklist. What happened next?
Essentially reducing the scope of a set of people that could see my post. I was advocating for the Great Barrington Declaration, which is a policy proposal I wrote with Sunetra Gupta of Oxford and Martin Kulldorff of Harvard in October 2020, arguing for focused protection of better protection of vulnerable older people and lifting of lockdowns. Earlier in the pandemic, I'd also been censored from YouTube for a video where I was speaking with the sitting governor of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis, advising him about the evidence on whether masking children had any effect on the pandemic. I told him correctly, based on the literature, that there is no randomized evidence suggesting any efficacy of masking children, and YouTube took down that video. From the Missouri versus Biden case, what we've learned is that these were not accidents. What happened actually was that the government was pressuring social media companies on setting an agenda for them for who and what to censor. It didn't matter if what they were censoring was true or false. They just was inconvenient to the government preferred policies on COVID. And so I was sort of at the crosshairs of that, but it wasn't just me, Robbie. It was a tremendous number of Americans who, whether they, again, based on true or false statements, it was legally protected speech. They posted it on social media. The government pressured social media to label it as misinformation or to take it down or suppress its reach, even without the people knowing it. It was a.
And again, that's where I actually disagree with you, though, Enigma Severus. It's, again, totally fine if it was just Facebook or if it was just YouTube, or but when the government's pressuring them, hey, you got a good tech company here, it'd be a shame if something happened to it, then that's not cool. That's not legal. Even if you want to say it's not against freedom of speech, it's still basically freaking it's not blackmail, but it's another it's basically kind of extortion. However, Michael Nola's Saturday Post, November 3, explaining the censoring stuff is really good. LDG, speaking no matter what you say is free speech. What is another fact. Every speech is free speech first, then something else also, not instead. Yeah, I tend to agree. That's one of the main themes of my channel up here. And I don't mean to be ignoring you, Lois Moffat. If you have something to say, please feel free to say it, whether you agree or disagree with any of us. And if you want to stay connected with me, my Facebook is in there. Hit me up in there and we can keep talking about the good old days when I thought I knew what I was talking about, and now I just talk. Okay, where are we at? Speaking no matter what. Enigma Severus, do you see what he said? You are missing what he said. Who am I missing? Michael Nolas or LDG or Bhattacharya? Well, I'm going to play a little bit more Bhattacharya, and then I'm going to move on to my next point.
Direct violation of the American First Amendment, as the Fifth Circuit just confirmed.
Are you confident that this ruling?
And yeah, the court basically upheld his suit, that it was in fact a violation of free speech. Enigma Severus, he said, it does not matter what was said is true or false. It was the person, which is a big issue. So the concentration was not on freedom of speech, but people and personal beliefs.
Assuming it's upheld, will get to the root of this problem, that as long as the government is barred from explicitly reaching out to social media companies and applying the pressure as they've done in the past, that it will end the practice of the kinds of blacklists that you were put on? Are you concerned that this isn't the end of what has become a theme, where there is both soft and hard pressure at some of these organizations to exert, whether it's their political sentiments or restrictions on some other kind of basis, that have attacked any number of communities over the years?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's a fantastic first step. I have to say I was overjoyed to see the ruling, because it essentially tells the government that they're not allowed to talk to social media and coerce them. I mean, they were essentially saying to the social media companies, boy, that's a nice company you got there. It'd be a shame if something were to happen to it. I mean, in effect, social media companies complied. I will say there are some restrictions in this ruling relative to what the district court ruled that I find a little bit troubling. So for instance, this court said that the government can continue to work with academic outsiders to set a hit list for what should be censored. So they can, for instance, there's a group here on my campus at Stanford called the Stanford Internet Observatory that works with a government agency called CISA, that or at least advises their work output is informs CISA that and what they do is they analyze the internet looking for things that they think is misinformation, and a lot of the sort of agenda setting for which accounts to take down, which people to go after, is set by outside organizations, with the government cooperating with outside organizations. And I think that ought to be something government ought not do. And this ruling allows that to continue to happen. Now, the government can't now, under this ruling, use that information and then threaten social media companies, which is good. But I would like to see more.
You bring up the Stanford Internet Observatory, which you're right, we've been able to exhaustively chronicle all of its efforts to exhaustively chronicle what it describes as misinformation on a host of topics, not just COVID, but also for supposedly Russian-based misinformation on the platform, national security threats, all of that stuff. I got to ask, since you're at Stanford, are there like uncomfortable faculty lounge discussions about like, hey, why are you trying to get me, banned from the internet?
And I'm going to stop with that, but I do want to talk about that. One of the big underpinnings of academic freedom, at least this was always taught back in my day when there were dinosaurs running around in colleges and we were being taught how to run automobiles with our legs instead of petroleum, was that you have to have freedom of speech in academia. People have to be able to voice what they have to say, at least to a certain degree, even if it seems mildly unpopular or even moderately crazy. It used to be the big thing that we have to let Nazis talk if they want to. We have to let communists talk if they want to. And you're actually smarter if you at least listen a little bit, because if you don't listen at all, how do you defeat bad ideas if you don't know anything about how the bad ideas are there? Now we have academia coming up with lists of people who are allowed to talk, subjects that we're allowed to talk about, the prescribed things that we're allowed to say about it. What do you all say about that? Now, I realize this isn't necessarily all at Biden's feet, but when you find that it's revealed that for every time Trump censored, there were 10 or 20 or 30 times that Biden censored, what do you do with that information? How do you defend that? It doesn't mean you had to vote for Trump, but how do you defend Biden and frankly Kamala, because she's guilty if only by association? Does that not help you understand how people came about voting for Trump instead? Lady Miss, sometimes I will take the side of Republicans to my Democratic friends and vice versa, which is good. That's actually really good. My Republican friends sit back and wait till they all explode as they try to get me to think their way. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons why I'm trying not to necessarily, how can I put this? I'm not necessarily trying to convince anybody. I'm not saying that there's none of that in my heart, but because at the end of the day, I'm one of these contrarians. And when somebody tries to convince me of something, I'm okay with it up to a point. And then there's a point where I'm like, you really don't give a shit about the truth. Not saying you, Lady Miss, but the hypothetical person. All you're interested in is that you're right and I'm wrong, and it just doesn't matter. And that's when I start to dig in my heels. And this censorship I wasn't yet quite into digging in my heels, but I was appalled and I was horrified. And I'm also talking about, things that I didn't know at the time. Like when the COVID censorship was happening, I was baffled. I was confused. I didn't believe in the censorship, but I honestly also didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to believe. There was all these people saying that if you don't believe in this censorship, you want grandma to die. Yeah, we can all be evil, Lady Moffat. We can all be evil. I mean, don't be scared. Contrarian? No, I'm not. Right on, right on. Okay, well, I think I've belabored the point enough about censorship. So I'm going to move on to lawfare. This one's a little bit more difficult when it comes to, I really didn't know what to put up for that because there's been so much. And so I'm probably going to do a little bit of a bad job with this point, but it is, to me, one of the biggest points. I'm going to make a thought here. I'm going to make a thought. So, Lady Miss, you said that Donald Trump has no honor. And again, I'm not going to try to persuade you that he does, but I want to introduce something to that thought. After all of the court cases and after all the things the media has said, there's absolutely no way I can blame you for believing that he has no honor. But in my egotistic selfishness, I have to defend my own vote. So why in the hell would I vote for somebody with no honor? I would suggest, I could be incorrect, but when I found out that it was a lie, that he had not called soldiers losers, when I found out that it was a lie that he had tried to get people to march on the Capitol on January 6th, when I found out that it was a lie that he had tried to grab the wheel of his SUV and drive to the crowd so that he could order them to take over the democracy. When I find out that so many of the things are just lies, it gets hard for me, at any rate, to keep thinking that he's the honorless bastard that they say he is. Now, maybe he's not a glorious man. And definitely, yeah, he said some stuff that I get it. I get it. But I would also like to suggest that many of the things that I at least thought I'd heard him say turned out to be basically things taken out of context, things that were misreported. But he does have an unfortunate way of saying some crazy crap. So I don't want to completely poo-poo all of that. Mar-a-Lago was where it began with me. I thought about bringing up what I wrote about at the time, but I've decided that it's kind of a moot point now. In fact, I'll just look up where that story has gone. Not the case with all the documents. Okay. So the last thing I'm able to find on that, on a quick search, is that a judge decided to dismiss the classified documents case. Special counsel Jack Smith's appeal of U.S. District Judge Eileen Connor's order is expected to tee up a court fight. The judge's 93-page order held that Smith's selection as special counsel violated the Constitution. He was named by the position directly by Attorney General Merrick Garland instead of being appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. I have no idea if that even matters. Even though Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas raised questions, no other justice signed on to his concurring opinion. The Smith team is likely to point to all of those court holdings and casting canon to be Atlanta-based 11th Circuit Court of Appeals as an outlier. Spokesman for Smith's office. Yeah, but basically where I'm going is all of these cases, I'd look into them and none of them made any sense either way. Either way. I felt at the time that Trump must have been a moron. Why would you keep secret documents in a place that's easily gotten to? I talked to a friend of mine who had top secret clearance and asked him about it, and he was saying that you actually do have the right to keep documents as long as they're secure and the government knows about it. I was thinking, well, why isn't he keeping them secure? And then later you hear this story, and I can't verify if it's true or not, but you hear this story that he had it in a secure location, but they took the FBI people who raided his place, took them out, took them into this closet, took a picture of it, and then told us, hey, look, this is how he kept them. I don't know which of that's true. And that's been part of my point is you can dig and you can dig and you can dig. And at the end of the day, all we really know about that case seems to be we end up believing what we want to believe. If you're a right winger, you believe that Trump did have them secure and that they invaded his place without any good cause. If you're against him, you believe the government had a right to raid him and take the stuff. My question is, they threatened to charge him with treason. Number one, even back at the time, I didn't understand how that could apply, because it's not like he was giving, it's not like he gave it to a foreign country. And number two, if they really did have the goods on him, so as hard as they were saying, why didn't they end up prosecuting him? And why didn't the prosecution end up taking? And all of my liberal friends will say, well, they just did a bad job of prosecuting, but they did it again and again and again and again. So I end up with one of two conclusions here. And it doesn't have to be an either or, but there's one of two conclusions that I'm coming to with most of these cases. Either our government is so inept that they're not even capable of prosecuting a simple case, or there really is some shady crap going on and they're trying to set him up unfairly for a fall. And the reason why I ended up siding on Trump's side is it hasn't just been Trump. They did it here with Bader Chaya. They've done it with Russell Brand. They've done it with RFK, who is the guy that I was going to vote for. They did it to his running mate, who, as far as I can tell, is guilty of nothing but being a mother of an autistic. I try to listen to his whole conversation, not just a sentence here or there. No, I understand that. I understand that. Hail, Darth Plato. Howdy, howdy. I hope you are doing well. Good evening, Matt Cheatwood. I hope you are doing well. Okay, so that's my next point. I know I'm not doing the best job of backing it up, but essentially, to me, the lawfare, if it had just been Trump, I think I still would be upset, but I wouldn't necessarily have gone, okay, that's enough. I'm actually, I'm going to go ahead and vote Trump. But when I'm learning that this is evidently a party principle, let's go after our enemies in the courts. And I know everyone says, well, Trump did it too, but to me, no, not to the same degree. He may have tried to use litigiousness more than he should have, but he didn't actually try to destroy people. I mean, maybe he did. Maybe you know something where he tried to destroy somebody's life, but it didn't seem to be this wholesale, let's destroy Trump. Let's destroy everyone around him. Let's destroy everyone that had anything to do with January 6th. Let's destroy Kennedy. Let's destroy everyone that's supporting Kennedy. You know, at some point, you're the bad guy. You know, and you may want to say, well, Trump's the bad guy too, but all you're really convincing me at this point is that they're both bad guys, at which point I don't really want to vote for any of them. Matt Cheatwood, my position is the Democratic Party are full-blown fascists. Change my mind. Darth Plato, I know a guy who has a law degree. He is no Trump guy. He says the Trump charges are questionable. Well, that's another thing, and that's probably where I should have gone with this is I look into it from Mr. Wonderful's viewpoint, which I brought up in one of my later streams. He believed that one of these trials had no legs to stand on. Well, he's not a lawyer, but then you go to Dr. Phil, who does know the law fairly well, and he's got lawyers because that's part of what his business was and is, even now that he's a broadcaster. And so they examine it and they're saying, hey, look, this is a big ball of crap. And I have to listen to both. I can't just do what some of my friends do. Well, Dr. Phil's going crazy. No. I mean, no. I have a good idea of what crazy is like. I married it. You know? He's not saying anything with this vituperative, oh, the Democrats must all be destroyed. He's calling a spade a spade. And when you have so many people doing that, I have to start listening to, you know, again, you still have to listen to both sides, but it gets to where one side seems to have more credibility to me. Darth Plato, Dems as a party have adopted a Leninist style of shepherding people. Pleasant Valley Picker of Canada, howdy, howdy. Thank you for showing up. I hope some of this is entertaining and or informative. From what I've seen the past week, it has become clear the Democrats played the politics of division systematically. And that is ultimately what I'm suggesting. My sixth point was denying Biden's cognitive decline. John, Dr. Phil has gone sane in a world gone mad. Right on. Like I said, I didn't listen to it for maybe a solid year because they did the same thing with Reagan. And I loved, and right or wrong, I still love Reagan. Probably wrong, but I still do. And I'll not forget that was the mantra in the 80s. Reagan has Alzheimer's. Reagan has Alzheimer's. Reagan has Alzheimer's. And then it ended up that he had Alzheimer's. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it starts about 15 years before, because it was all politics. I remember lefty college professors. He had it already. And well, I mean, best I can gather, my dad's lived about as long as you live with it, and he's lived 6 years. Yeah, I don't think you live a lot longer than that from what I can gather. They played different groups off each other. People like Obama tried to guilt groups like he did when he lectured black men to vote for Harris. Yeah. I don't think Reagan was actually diagnosed until he was 87. But like I say, the lefties all wanted to say, well, he had it years before. And of course, they all had medical degrees. They all knew what they were talking about. I'm being sarcastic. So when they started saying those things about Biden, it took me about a year or two to really be willing to listen. But then more people were saying it, and more things were happening, and things were happening and being reported by people who had no vested interest in making him look bad. And then you just kind of got to seeing it. Something was going on. And then by the debate, everybody finally was like, yeah, something's got to give. Something's got to happen. And we ended up with Kamala. I firmly believe, I'm not going to go as far back as some people do, but I think at least for the last 2, if not 3 years, that he's had a cognitive decline of some kind. I'm not a doctor, so I can't say it's Alzheimer's, but there's something. He should not have been president still. He should have been removed. And though I don't like Kamala, the right thing to do would have been to make her president. And I know there's right wingers now. Oh my gosh, they're going to have him resign and make a president. I don't care. I really don't. It's what they should have done 2 or 3 years ago. They shouldn't have ramrodded him through the primaries. They should have given people like Kennedy and Buttigieg and even though I don't like him, even Gavin Newsom, they should have given other people a better shot at a real democratic election. But they didn't. And people realized that. People saw that. And a lot of people were okay with it. A lot of people were excited about Kamala. I personally, because I'm not Democrat, I don't care for that party, but I can't help but feel that if that were my side, if I still was as vociferously anti-Trump, because I was eroded until finally it caved, but I would have been mad as hell at the Democrats. Give me a freaking voice. Give me a freaking vote. Now, granted, yes, you can say it on the other side as well if you want to. I would humbly suggest, though, that the Republicans did have a lot more of a legitimate primary than the left. Even though Trump ended up winning handily and without even going to the debates, the Republicans at least tried to present a show of, hey, we've got these 4 or 5 candidates. I was actually excited about Ramaswamy. If he had made it through to the primary in Oklahoma, I would have voted for him. But he backed out and he endorsed Trump, which was yet another step and another phase of, the person I was going to support and the person I wanted to vote for is supporting Trump. What do I do with that information? And not only is he supporting Trump, but the media is censoring Trump. I listened to his speech, but I had to go somewhere else. The mainstream media wouldn't let you listen to it. And it's one of my principles. The censors are not the good guys. Lady Mist, you say you've listened to Trump. Good on you. A lot of people haven't. They didn't dig up his speech. They just allowed the media to censor them. But I think that also left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because we're Americans, damn it. We vote. Let me hear what he has to say. And if it's so bad, I'll vote against him. Darth Plato, cry of the desperate. Reagan won 49 states. Yeah, he did. Pleasant Valley Picker, California, Canada. Trump increased his margins with minorities, women's, and young voters. Matt Cheatwood, I reject all forms of identity politics. All people are individuals. Agreed. Pleasant Valley, gains he made were significant margins. Darth Plato, I'll think Biden finds all of this hilarious. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. And I look, again, even though I'm against him politically, I'm not going to say I bear him no ill will, but I don't like that he got this cognitive decline. I don't wish that on anybody. And number two, I don't like how the party treated him. I don't like how the party treated Bernie Sanders. I don't like how the party treated RFK. I don't like how the party treated Tulsi Gabbard. Do you see a theme here? Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Gonna go shower. Here's a link to tonight's Cigar Lounge. Yeah, and go to that Cigar Lounge if you guys want to when I'm done here. I've only got a couple more points, and then I'm probably going to call it a stream here in about 20 or 30 minutes. Darth Plato is deliberate. The Dems thought they had this. They wanted it as radically leftist. They wanted a radical leftist in there. Harris choosing Waltz over Shapiro is proof of that. They chose the radical, not the smart choice. Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Darth Plato, they were saying, stay alive, Joe. All we need is your corporeal form. I hear Harris was talking about a new constitution. I don't know about that, but I've heard so much. Like the New York Times has several covers on how we need a new constitution. And I think you all know how I feel about that. Darth Plato, my theory is that the Dems have mistakenly thought that they had a secured grip on political power going forward. Minorities all guaranteed to vote Democrat, and the youth breaking left. Minority populations increasing, white populations decreasing. Once they thought they had control, the mask came off. Yeah, I do suspect there's something to that. Darth Plato, Matt Cheatwood, I heard that in 2008. Pleasant Valley, they treated Biden badly. Should have never made him the candidate. When he stumbled, they threw him under the bus. I agree with that. I agree with that. Let me check out the poll. Looks like in the next one, we're just talking. So I've got to at least vaguely finish my point here. The seventh point, and this is where it took me a while to totally go there, but the assassination attempt. Now, I know I've got liberal friends who insist that at least the first assassin was a right winger. I feel comfortably enough to say that, in my opinion, that's debunked. I can respect those who disagree with that. But I'm with the guy from the Young Turks whose name I can never pronounce. Maybe it wasn't the Democratic Party. Maybe it wasn't the alphabet soup. Maybe it was Iran. Somebody, I believe, sent at least the first person out to kill him. And as we know, just like censors, the people who are sending people out to kill other people are usually not the good guys. I won't say never. Bonhoeffer tried to assassinate Hitler, but it's pretty rare. Usually, you're trying to shoot somebody, unless it's in self-defense, you're probably the bad guy. And it also made me re-examine myself, made me re-examine what I was thinking. And I think a lot of Americans did that. A lot of Americans were probably jumping the gun, saying, well, this is going to guarantee him the election. And I don't know that it did, although I do think it was one of the biggest impetuses in that direction. But you still had people saying that it was faked, and you had the change to Kamala, and you had the standard operating procedure of, oh, they're Nazis, they're fascists, they're evil, they're going to try to lock you up, they're going to try to take away your abortion rights. And what some of you on the left don't understand is we've been hearing this since Reagan. Frankly, we've been hearing it since before Reagan. And don't get me wrong, there's been cases like the Patriot Act and things of that nature that have proven that we should probably be leery of, letting certain neocons take over. But some of us have grown very tired of hearing our candidate called a Nazi or called crazy or called this, or basically all it is saying you have no right to a thought. That's all that's become to me. That if you're going to call me a Nazi, you're just trying to dehumanize me. Now, it's not right to go the other way and dehumanize the leftists. We can criticize them. We can say that they're wrong. We can argue. But at the end of the day, dehumanizing them, it's not going to be any better than the other way. That's why I do get upset when Trump says stuff like, I hate Taylor Swift. Look, I get we all have our petty moments, but now bullets are flying. Now's not the time. Darth Plato, indeed, they convinced themselves that 2016 was an aberration. Chunky yogurt. If that were true, they wouldn't have chosen someone more competent. Yeah, that's something. I guarantee that kid thought he was competent. Who doesn't? Dunning-Kruger. I feel like I should know what that is, but I don't. Dunning-Kruger. How can a whole culture that rejects competence be a good judge of competence? Good point. Pleasant Valley Picker. When a side resorts to nothing but name calling, it shows that they have run out of arguments. Agreed. And again, I want to be a little bit careful because I've seen plenty of right wingers do that. Not you, or I don't think any or many of us here in the chat, but there has been too much name calling on the right. Hell, I've indulged in too much of it myself, I'm sure. Evening, Frosty B. Rocks, Insights of Canada. Howdy, howdy. I hope you are doing well. The last point I'm going to make, although I may elaborate on it for some time just because I'm kind of feeling spunky. There's so much more I wanted to share, but I'm getting tired. But I feel like the Dems, the right is often accused of arrogance, and all too often it is true. And we have to be willing to look in the mirror and admit when we are. But I think that that's the ultimate thing that killed the left. Now you have the people like Lady V who are humble and are kind and try to listen to the opposition and don't think that they know it all. But I don't think those are the people who are running the party. I don't think that those were the people who were running that campaign. I think we had arrogant people who thought that they had some kind of a mandate, who thought because they were in an echo chamber that they were not only the majority, but the vast majority. They felt like they were the arbiters of wisdom and knowledge. And I would humbly suggest that that turned out to be untrue. But even if I'm wrong and that it is true, a lot of people were convinced that it wasn't. Darth Plato, dehumanizing is what happens in war. When World War I got underway, the Germans were vilified as Huns and barbarians, a war against civilization. That messaging is why the U.S. joined the war. Yeah, agreed. It's propaganda. This is a vote for democracy. If you vote against us, you're voting against democracy. And of course, both sides played that game in this election. Get to work in Canada. Get that guy out of your government. Hope everyone is having a good evening. Just got home. The Newsom recall failed. Oh, really? Rigged, in fact. Oh, I'll believe that. I'm trying to decide what's the last few things that I should share before calling it a stream. There's a lot that I actually didn't get to. I think CA is Canada in this case. Never give up, never surrender. Both sides need to work together, get off their egos. We will never move forward. Agreed. No, I agree with that. The meltdown on the left I witnessed the past week exposed their smug arrogance and condescending attitudes, and all of us who support Trump were knuckle-dragging morons. I think what I'm going to do is end this with my typical pointless what I found on X. Mainly because a lot of the stuff that I ended up dragging over to tabs were things that I'd found on X. So let me know if...
What do you think about that thing I sent you today that compares the number of people that voted in 2020 versus the number of people that voted in 2024 and in 2016?
Sure does look strange.
And in 2012. Have you seen it, Jamie? Yeah. It's so crazy. You look at it and you go, is this real? Oh, here it is. Because it doesn't seem to make any sense, because this is like one of the most consequential elections ever. I think everybody's pretty aware of that. And everybody is very dug in on their side. The left, he's Hitler. The right, he's saving us. And so more people voted, at least the indication would be as much people voted in 2020, if not more, probably more people voted. But let's look at the numbers. Like, look at the difference in how many people voted for Biden in 2020. It's unprecedented. It's way higher than any other time since 2012. And I'm sure probably before that, there was less people back then, right? So if you go back to when I was a kid, there was only like 200 million people in this country.
Yeah. And to be clear, 2012 and 2016 were not low turnout years.
No, they're all consistent. Yeah. This is what's crazy. They're consistent. Look, they're all like 60. Look at where the number is. It's all like 65 million. Is that what it says? Mm-hmm. So that's all the same every fucking time except 2020. In 2020, it goes way the fuck up. Look at it. It's like 80 what? Is it 82? Is that what it was?
It's like 81 and change.
81. Yeah. So it goes up a fucking sizable chunk.
All right. So what do you all think about that? I was listening to CNN, MSNBC, and MOUSE at the time. I've never seen that chart. This is the first time. And I don't know that Rogan has looked at that chart before. That's, to me, that I don't know what to do with that. I haven't verified it. I can't confirm or deny that that chart may be a complete fabrication, but can you on the left not look at that and at least understand why a right winger might look at that chart and go, what in the hell happened? Now, to be intellectually honest, if you'll notice, Trump also got insane number of votes on that chart. So something insane happened. Doesn't necessarily mean that the election was stolen or not, but something insane happened in 2020 if that chart is true. And I think that right wingers can at least be forgiven for having the thought that maybe the election was stolen. CA website is Canada. Matt Cheatwood, CA is both Canada and California, both nations being run into the ground by socialist totalitarians. The knuckle dragging reference goes to my Lenin reference. People were scared stiff in 2020. Yeah, they were. The between the pandemic and all the hate and all the, yeah, people were terrified. And the right was terrified of the left and so on and so on. All right, Gorillas is back, and something about the chat. Frosty B. Rock's insight, found a new candidate. Screw the Patriot Act. Agreed. The chart is true but misleading in that it only shows the tip of the columns. Interesting. Frosty B. Rocks, I have no one to vote for here. Been thinking of just trying to get my name on the ballot and vote for myself. Election stolen in 2020 is nonsense, according to Darth Plato. Lady Mist, I have several friends that didn't vote, said voting wasn't important to them. And I have a good friend who makes really good arguments, actually, about voting not being relevant, but I still voted. C-19 mail-in ballots were blamed. Yeah. And I've thought about sharing that, but there's an interesting talk out there about how those ballots were possibly to blame, and maybe not to blame, but caused a lot of the fear. I think I'm going to skip that one. I am going to play this one because I think this is part of that arrogance that I've been trying to talk about. Again, let me know. Oh, it's gonna do that. All right. Stop sharing that one and start sharing this one, MSNBC, which is now my least favorite media platform. It used to be CNN. Now I've decided that CNN is frankly fair and balanced compared to MSNBC. MSNBC's Maddow calls on military, media, and millions of Americans to resist Trump. She even told her audience it's time to get back in shape so that they can physically fight. Fear-mongering to MSNBC viewers following Donald Trump's presidential election landslide win, far-left talking head Rachel Maddow urged citizens, U.S. military leaders, and media personalities to resist the incoming administration so that America doesn't become authoritarian. Let's see if this will play.
But now history doesn't end. Time doesn't stop. Now we have the benefit of knowing, how this has gone in every other country that has been through a democracy to authoritarian transition. And sadly, there are a lot of them. We have the benefit of seeing what's happened in those other countries, though. And what we know is that the more ground the authoritarian takes, the harder it is to ever get that ground back. And so the first order of business is to stop them from taking any uncontested ground right from the outset when it comes to what our system of government is and what our democracy is, right? From other countries' experiences that quickly, now in the next few weeks, if not the next few days, they are going to start pushing to see how far the country is going to let them go without pushback, without protest. And part of this is because it's just psychologically advantageous for them to do this now, right? They're counting on the half the country that voted against them, the half the country that doesn't want to give up our system of government, they're counting on all those tens of millions of Americans to be despondent, to feel powerless, to check out.
Okay. One, can everyone hear that? And two, what does everyone think about that? Voting would do wonders if people just stopped voting red and blue, which those parties are corrupt to the core. Right on. Sup, DJ Ronnie G. Welcome, welcome. Check out DJ Ronnie G. He has some really interesting videos on his channel. We're wrapping up on the talk about why Trump won. People are willing to take up arms, but for some reason changing their vote away from red or blue is somehow outlandish and crazy. Go figure. Maddow is delusional. What the heck? That's not even legal. Well, there's reasons why I'm playing this. Lady Mist, I have a question. If everything goes sour in the next 4 years, will you still vote for Trump? Again, no. He can't constitutionally run. He can't. And respectfully, I don't mean this to be a gotcha kind of thing, but if I was voting, if I was that kind of a person, I would have voted for him last time. It took all of this stuff that I'm talking about to convince me that that's what that's the person that I needed to vote for. But if it goes sour, the only way we're going to be able to vote for him again is if the Constitution's gone. And if he does undo the Constitution, then yeah, I'll be willing to eat my words. Rachel Maddow makes $30 million per year. Trump is a lame duck. Yeah, rigged. It really depends on why things went sour. That's a good point. That's a good point, too. Trump isn't allowed to run in 2028. He already had his administration. I can easily imagine 4 years of deep state stopping every one of Trump's plans and continuing the collapse of the United States, which, if you believe Trump, and you don't have to, but if you do, and if you don't, please just do it as a mental experiment so that you can understand your crazy, sad friends. If what Trump says is true, and RFK, and Stranahan, and Tulsi Gabbard, and Russell Brand, and both of the Weinsteins, if what they're saying is true, that's exactly what happened in the first 4 years, is the deep state undercut him. It's not to give him an excuse. If you're going to run, you need to understand these things, and he didn't. But then, I don't know if any of us did. As I understand it, presidents aren't allowed to serve more than 8 years. I want to say it's 10. So like you can serve 2 years as a vice president who's become president and then run 2 more times. It's happened before. Currently, they cannot. However, repealing a constitutional amendment would allow it, which I would be really hard pressed to see them repealing that amendment anyway. We'll never have to vote again. Yeah, that was an unfortunate thing that he said. I'm not going to stick up for him for that. I do think it was a slip of the tongue, but having said that, I don't expect anyone to pardon him for that. Calling for military to resist the POTUS is sedition, which, isn't it? I mean, aren't they doing exactly the same thing? And maybe, look, I'm still wrapping my head around January 6th after all this time. But does committing sedition undo committing sedition? I don't know. What do you guys think? Yeah, Franklin Roosevelt did it for 12 years, but that's why they passed the amendment after he passed away, because they were afraid that he had amassed too much power, and they didn't want that to happen again. He would, in fact, he was elected to 4 terms, but he passed away in his 4th one. There was no amendment back then. Dam teetering tunnel. Roger, repeal. Let's not entertain that scenario. I always remember the quote from FDR. 22nd Amendment was term limits that after FDR, and FDR had 4 terms. Presidents are selected, not elected. No, that's actually kind of part of what I'm hinting at in a lot of this. Personally, I don't approve of term limits because it's too hard to find a good candidate. It's not who votes, but who counts the votes. Stalin. He could change any amendment. He has all the branches of power this term. Well, yeah, but it's a little changing an amendment is intensely difficult. I see what you're saying, but he would still, even with all these branches, he would still need a substantial amount of Democratic votes to change any of the amendments. Matt Cheatwood, the definition of sedition, conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. Darth Plato, it's not who votes, but who counts the votes, to quote Stalin. Anyway, yep, Rachel Maddow. Let's move on to one more thing. I'm going to share. Yeah, Trump by himself can't change an amendment. Now, he might do some other thing that you might argue is dictatorial or oligarchical, but he doesn't have, the president doesn't have the arbitrary power to just do an amendment. It is easier with all the branches of government, but it's like Jeff B says, amendments need 2/3 of the states to ratify. So you would need at least, I would think, at least a few of the Democratic states to agree. To change the amendments, you need a convention of states, and it needs to be ratified by 3/4 of the states. No president has the branches of government. SCOTUS is separate. Yeah, he's the executive branch, or he's not the executive branch, but he's the big dog in the executive branch. What's the last thing I want to share with you guys before I call it a stream? Here's that chart again. All right. I think I'm going to share. Actually, I'm going to share this one because I'm unfair. All right. This one I found very
I'm not afraid of losing my rights because I understand that Donald Trump is not interested in taking any rights away from LGBTQ adults, but rather he is ready to wage war against these adults who have been harming and indoctrinating this country's children. How about you?
Oh, me? No, I'm not worried because when he was president, he stood up at the UN and demanded that homosexuality be decriminalized worldwide. Didn't they tell you about that on CNN? No? Oh, well, yeah, that happened. What about you?
I'm not afraid for my gay rights because Trump has already been our president. And last time he was our president, he had Republican control of the House and the Senate, and he still didn't do anything to our gay rights. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about losing any rights under a Trump presidency as a gay woman. How are you going to tell me he's against gay people when he literally had a gay wedding at his own house? How about you?
I'm not afraid for my rights under Trump's presidency because President Trump appointed Richard Grenell, who became the first openly gay man to hold a cabinet level position. I wouldn't consider that taking rights away. I think that's providing opportunity where it's never been given before. How about you?
Did y'all forget that he was the first ever U.S. president to enter office? Actually, even before he was entering the office, to be pro-LGBT.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. What do you guys think about that? And I think on that note, I will call it a stream. Look how those that were calling him all the evils a few years ago are rushing to bend their knee to get in his good graces. Yeah. And I'm sure that some of that is just lame politics, but I'm also trying to suggest that some of that is people who have come to realize that a lot of lies have been told about him. And once they saw that, oh, he's not that bad of a guy. He's not against gays. He's not trying to take away this and that. I think a lot of people, J.D. Vance is one of them, I think once they got to know him, they realized that this isn't really where this movement is going. They will help him. And yeah, they will. And that may be good, that may be bad. In my perfect world, Trump would abolish at least the Department of Education, the FDA, the IRS, the Fed, and the ATF. I hope he at least does something. I do want him to fire the people who lied about him as far as all the Russiagate crap. I do want him to, if he doesn't do away with the Department of Education, I would like him to rein in the indoctrination. I don't want him to just replace it like what seems to be happening in Oklahoma. I don't want him to replace it with indoctrination from the other side, but I would like him to do away with it. The FDA, the IRS, yeah, the Fed, at the very minimum, I want the Fed audited, if not done away with. But yeah, Lady Miss, you probably have a point on both sides of the aisle that people like power too much. Everybody wants to rule the world. Beware humans. Creepy voice power. I've been pro LGBT all my whole life. The TQIA bullshit can fuck right off. I understand. Or they have no honor too. Yeah. We'll probably have to agree to disagree on that one, because the people that I'm mentioning are people that at least I believe to be people of honor. Abolish the UPS. Abolish MLB. Thanks for the succulent bugs. Nom nom. Fix SS. Leave to those who paid into it and not keep using it for every little thing. Yeah, that's a good point. I want a government so small and poor they can barely build roads, since they haven't bothered to build good roads when they were rich. And understand that. All right. Well, I hope I made my point. There's 8 reasons why Trump won, and most of them are not strong pro-Trump points. The Democrats, in my humble opinion, doubled down on division instead of uniting. They screwed up the Afghanistan leaving. They screwed up the border. They doubled down on COVID and censorship. Don't get me wrong, Trump started with it, but when he started to back down on it, that's one of the things that he was labeled a Nazi for. The lawfare that has been used against not just Trump. If it was just Trump, I might almost forgive it, but virtually all of their major political opponents had it happen to them. Denying Biden's cognitive decline, the assassination attempt, and in my humble opinion, in the last few months, they just demonstrated, again, not at the ground floor level, not at Lady Miss level, but at the top levels, they demonstrated an arrogance that I just don't think the American people could stand. Matt wants people to eat bugs. Abolish putting up Christmas decorations up before Thanksgiving. Darth Plato, I want people to be free to eat any damn thing they want and can afford. Yes. Gorilla's Random Thoughts. All right. Let's go out. Music. The story and narrative goes that soldiers fought for freedoms. If that's true, then you're free to pop up Christmas decorations in July if one should choose to. No, I actually agree with you on that one, Frosty. I think Gorillas is being sarcastic. I think. Darth Plato, except puppies, no eating them. Don't eat our dogs. Don't eat our cats. Don't eat the pets of the people that live here. All right, I hope you all enjoyed it. And I hope it made sense, even if you didn't agree with all of it or even any of it. But I think that is what happened. It wasn't so much that Trump was wonderful or that he was brilliant. I think the Dems made some incredibly bad mistakes. I think they drove people away. I think Trump was actually smart enough to welcome the people driven away into his camp. And then when people saw his bravery during the assassination attempt and saw that compared to the opposition, he actually was humble and down to earth. Let's go to McDonald's. I think that's what won it for him. But let me know what you think in the chat. Next week, let me look at the poll. It looks like, oh, we're tied. More stuff about Trump or chill stream. So I'm going to make the executive decision that I'm going to share some things about Trump as far as what I had not gotten to share this time. But I'll try not to make it all about Trump and have some other positive and nonpartisan stuff mixed in with it. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. John Ponterero, as always, thanks for your prayer, your advice, your brotherly love, and the things that you shared. I really wanted to get to more of them, but I just ended up saying so much stuff. I hope it was mostly stuff of substance. Meow Meow Moira Kitty, I bet you are doing a stream at the moment. Please feel free to check her out. Connie Cleary, feel free, please check her out. She's probably even now at Sparkwood and 21, which I may go to, but I may also go to bed soon. Charlotte Nightstar the Werewolf, oh, thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful stream. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, thank you for coming, and please check this wonderful personality. Just got monetized and is celebrating it as we speak, I believe. Horse123, thank you for showing up and for your comment. Jim Landscape LLC, thank you for showing up and for your kind comment. Check him out as well. He does some wonderful Star Trek fan films. Enigma Severus, wonderful teacher, and makes beautiful fan edited videos with good music and edits from movies. But a lot of his stuff is on Rumble because YouTube doesn't always like that, but it's really well done. Lady Mist, thank you very much for your sweetness and kindness, and I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope that you feel welcome, and if I've said anything disrespectful, I hope it wasn't, because it's not how I meant it. Space Fraggle Kapla, you're probably also already in Sparkwood and 21. All right, Lobel, who was Louise Moffat. Please hit me up on Facebook. I would love to connect again, see how you're doing. Although you may end up being disappointed in me, but that's okay. Who else? Who else? LDG Free the Net. I can't wait till the day when we do Free the Net. When that app comes out, check him out and his website. Jeff B, thank you very much for coming and giving a kind comment. Matt Chitwood, good evening to you, sir. I love that libertarian feistiness. Freedom. Pleasant Valley Picker of Canada, thank you very much for your thoughtful comments. Darth Plato, thank you very much for your thoughtful comments. You've always got something so intelligent to say. Love it. Love this community. Frosty B Rocks Insights of Canada, thank you very much for your insights and kind comments. Yes, Lois Moffat, I grew up to be a tired, cranky old man who listens to soft prone music on YouTube. When you knew me, I was a big prude. Shame. Oh well. Life goes on. DJ Ronnie G, thank you for showing up and for your kind comments. Check out his videos. He has got some pretty informative stuff. All right. Very good. Very good. And let's check out these last comments and then I'm out of here. People can put up Christmas lights the day after Christmas. They got an inflatable Santa across the street. People can eat puppies and kittens all day if they want. I miss mean tweets. Mean tweets are back. We just don't ban them anymore. Everyone has a good evening. Super strong. Oh, thank you, Lady Miss. That means a lot to me. That means a lot to me. Thank you very much. Movie play. Yeah. And the 3 a.m. ballot drop just wasn't enough this time. I think it's all been orchestrated. The liberals did things so bad that people would have voted for a goldfish. The next part of the agenda is being handed off to the conservatives. I wonder about that. I wonder about that. All right, Gorilla's Random Thoughts is reminding us of the time. You guys go to his stream or to Sparkwood 21. Thank you all very much. I'm going to give my spiel, though. Liz Moffat, let me know what you think of it if you're still here. I probably scared her away. I can hear them now. Oh, gosh, he's probably become a nut. It's been said that life is pain, and anyone telling you otherwise is trying to tell you something. And it's true. I am, in fact, trying to sell you something. I'm trying to sell you on the belief that liberty is better than slavery. That freedom is better than tyranny. That you, in fact, are, even if you're in Canada, smart enough and wise enough and good enough to run your own life. You don't need a big corporation or a big government telling you how to do so. Lastly of all, I want you all to know I love you, and I want you to know that you are not going mad. Though you may have been told so, you are in fact going sane in a world gone mad. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.